Hello, good day, good morning. Very nice to see so many people joining us today for our start of the year webinar of ISWA, so of the International Solid Waste Association. Perhaps to remind those who are not too familiar with ISWA, ISWA is an association which is grouping the whole municipal waste management chain. So from municipalities to public and private waste management companies, recyclers, consultants, energy recovery providers, EPR systems, academics working in this field, politicians, partly ex-politicians as well. So a big variety of people, all with the same or more or less the same interest that we all want to improve municipal waste management. I think that is the unique selling proposal of ISWA, and which makes it different to all the other associations, which are usually only fighting for one special interest. And that is also why we decided within the European members to organize some webinars about hot topics for our ISWA members to give the floor to experts and to have a chance for people to learn about this topic so that they can take better informed decisions, that they can continue to discuss this, interact with each other, and hopefully that we are moving forward in this sector. And that's why we chose the textile sector as the first topic for the webinar of 26, because what I hear in the sector, this is causing a lot of question marks, a lot of challenges, a lot of complaints, not so much opportunities at the moment. And I think we have to try to find more opportunities to tackle this matter. Since a few years, it was decided that municipalities have to collect textile waste separate. This is now in force since 1 or 2 years. Now it has been finally decided how to finance or to co-finance this separate collection, because this is quite expensive to do it separately, as we know it quite well, for example, from the packaging field. So EPR will be mandatory for the textile sector as well. Unfortunately, it will take another 2 or 3 years. And if I see some member states, it will take even longer to get this up and to ensure that there is enough money to finance the management of textile waste. But at the moment, in many member states, I think we still have a chance to influence how these EPR systems will be set up. I think we can enrich the discussion not only on the European level, but consequently on the national level as well. We have some front runners, just to name France, where you have an EPR system, a PRO refashion since a few years. So we have some basis, some things where we can learn from. Other countries are following now. Very often approaches from other streams under EPR are copied or also on. So I think it's really time to discuss it further. And that's why I'm very happy that we have two great experts today with us, with a lot of competence in this topic of textiles and of EPR. And we will start with Anais from Eurotex, and she's working a lot with the PROs and founding with those PROs who should solve the problem on behalf of the textile companies. So she understands the problems, the challenges, what is working, what is not working up to now. And that's why I'm very happy that she's with us and will share with us this point of view from this part of the value chain. Because I think this is sometimes what is forgotten in our waste management world, that before something gets waste, it's a product. And only products who are well designed we can treat in the right way as waste managers. In packaging, we know this very well, and still it is, even after more than 30 years of EPR, we still find products, packaging, which are just not recyclable from the very beginning. And I think we can learn from these experience a lot as well for the textiles and for other products and waste streams. So hopefully we will improve step by step to design our products better, not only having in mind what will happen after the use, but of course it should be a big part of our thinking. So Anais, I will start with you. Later on, we will hear Vanya as well, and I will introduce her afterwards. So can you share a little bit about your work, about what you hear, what you are doing? Are your members in panic at the moment? 27 countries where you have to set up step by step EPR systems, where you will have to pay, or are your members relaxed because you know you have a way, you have decided a way to go? So please enlighten us a little bit about the situation at the moment from your point of view.
Yes. Hi everyone, and thank you, Joachim, for the invitation. So I'm Anaïs from Eurotex, as Joachim just said, and so we're representing textiles and apparel industry in Europe. So around 200,000 companies, mostly SMEs. We're under 1.3 million workers all over Europe. I deal with a couple of regulations. We're under the Circular Economy Act, the Environmental Omnibus, the Omnibus Simplification Package 1, and also the Waste Framework Directive implementation. And next to that, that's why I have also some PRO perspective. I hold the secretariat of the Textile PRO Forum, which is a voluntary initiative which was launched in 2023 with Refashion, bringing around today 30 PROs or candidate PROs across Europe together to share knowledge and aim for harmonization. So from our perspective, the priority today is to move from the collection obligations to the system obligations. So separate collection of textiles has already started in many member states, as it's been compulsory for a year now. But the system behind it is not fully ready yet. The volumes of collected textiles is actually increasing, although the quality of textiles collected is declining. So reuse stores and charities are also under pressure in Europe, and municipalities are often left carrying most of the operational and financial risk. So the question here would rather be whether we implement the textile EPR, because that decision has been taken as it's been published in the official journal in October 2025. But it's more how can we design it so it actually stabilizes and enable circularity in Europe in practice. So based on experience from existing EPR schemes, because EPR schemes have been already implemented in a couple of countries, we're under France, Netherlands, Latvia, and Hungary. There are a few principles that really matter. The first one would be that EPR must finance the full value chain, not only collection. So if EPR here only pays for the collection, as we've seen already now, the collection is just increasing. Although recycling capacity are not there, quality is going down. So we're kind of risk financing the volumes without really creating value. So textile here, textile EPR must cover collection, sorting, the preparation for reuse, very important, recycling, and also market development. Yeah. Then the second one, I think it's in the clarification of roles. Here, the authorities should regulate, set targets, and enforce. But the PROs are operational here, and they should organize compliance and financing. It's very important that the PROs are transparent and producer-driven. And then next to that, the municipalities and the waste operators should deliver services under clear contracts. And then the third one is quality matters more than quantity. So wet or contaminated textiles destroy the reuse and the recycling potential. And we see that more and more collected textiles are unfortunately getting contaminated today. So EPR needs to incentivize quality first collection, so dry, clean, and traceable, not just higher tonnage. Otherwise, we increase the cost without increasing actually the circular outcomes. The fourth point would be the harmonization, and it's actually our priority in the Textile PR Forum, but at Eurotex mainly. Harmonization is key, and if we have fragmentation and 27 different systems, it's not going to work. The fragmentation increase cost, they confuse the producer. If you have different registration formats, reporting formats, different even eco-modulations, although eco-modulations are here to incentivize durable products, it's not going to work. So we need harmonization. And then, yeah, finally, we would say that enforcement is fundamental. So enforcement here, I mean market surveillance. So if some actors contribute and others don't, whether distant sellers or online operators, the system will become unfair and also politically unstable. So circularity here cannot work, of course, if compliance is optional. So what the member states would need now is design inputs. So clear definitions of what services are paid for, what quality standards apply, how data is reported, so traceability, and how cost and risk are shared. And we also need transition planning. So many existing collection systems rely on charities and social enterprises, although textile EPR must integrate and protect these actors where possible, while moving towards regulated and transparent systems. If we don't plan this transition carefully, we might risk destabilizing systems that are already heavily under strain. So to conclude, from a PRO perspective, a good textile EPR system is not just about the producers that pay. It's about organizing the whole value chain. It's about looking at who carries the risk and also how we create viable end markets for reuse and recycling. So if we design EPR as a full system with clear roles, stable financing, quality incentives, and enforcement, it can take pressure off municipalities and deliver real circular outcomes. Although if we don't, we risk collecting more textiles without knowing where they can realistically go. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, dear Anais. I think a lot to discuss later on the topics that you said. But let's first hear what my colleague Vanya has to say. I think we know each other for 15 to 20 years, if I may say so. You are since a very, very long time in the sector of municipal waste management. You headed Municipal Waste Europe for 13 years as the managing director, guided them through many storms. We were cooperating during this time a lot, I have to say. It was always very healthy and fruitful, the discussions, but you also were active a little bit in extended producer responsibility. You had the experience to work for a brand owner in packaging only, but I think the challenges for a brand owner are quite similar, regardless the waste stream. So you can add this perspective as well. At the moment, you are a freelancer, a consultant, bringing all your knowledge to the point and offering it to us. And that's why I was very happy that you agreed to speak from a, I would say, from a more holistic point of view, and at the moment quite free to say, because you just represent yourself, and I think that's always very important and valuable as well, to have an honest, at a little bit more, a little bit higher view on the topic. So please, what can you share with us? How should these EPR systems look like? What should we avoid? What would be your advice that it's a success and not just a disaster?
You have you have to
We
unmute
can we
yourself,
cannot hear
Anya.
you.
Sorry.
Okay, unmuted. Thank you very much, Joachim, for that excellent introduction. Indeed, I will try to give them a bird's eye view of what the situation, not only in EPR today and textiles, but economically in Europe, and fit it into a circular economy that we're trying to achieve. Apologies if my voice is a little odd. I do have a seasonal cold. So I'm going to start by saying that EPR is not a magic wand. It is just a tool. And as any tool, it can be used well and it can be used poorly. We are in a good situation to begin with, because EPR has its basic framework in Articles 8 and 8A of the Waste Framework Directive, which gives a basis on which member states can build. And now the new 4 specific articles on textiles of EPR. Now, member states are the ones responsible to take this tool and create a system at national level. I'm just going to reflect what Anais said. I do believe that with the experience we've had, the long experience we've had with packaging EPR, a harmonized system at European level would have many benefits. I will develop this a little bit later. I don't want to talk too much now, as I will then run on. So if member states take this tool and design a system with the intention to maintain the status quo, so what we know today, it cannot lead to economic recovery, not in textiles and not in general, and then success in today's European and global market. If, however, national and European systems are designed to embrace the transformation that is needed, it can be a useful tool. What does that transformation look like for textiles? For most European waste management, it is still a new waste stream and a problem, as we've heard. So it is a new EPR stream. New means an opportunity to get it right, to look at the waste stream as a resource, and to design systems and strategically invest in technology to recover the different materials locally. So this does not separate municipalities and their collection, waste managers and the producers. It puts them together. The brave, uncomfortable version of textiles EPR means all textiles producers engaging towards the same successful goals, to recover and use the materials in new production cycles. This is the aim, not collection. And this would be placed within a European circular economy. This means embracing change, getting the support of governments, legislative and financial institutions to enable the implementation of these new systems and investments. So what investments are we talking about? It's not investing only in effective separate collection systems, which keep the material dry and clean. and then moving the waste from pillar to post. That means just transferring, shifting, sorting, and then shifting the cost and the responsibility onto different shoulders, and eventually losing control and losing the resource to landfill, incineration, or other countries that cannot recover the materials, and where it will remain waste and a problem. So to avoid that, the investment should start with the engagement of every party in the design of the national and European EPR system for textiles. So we're talking harmonization. That means everyone needs to sit at the table, everyone in the value chain, from municipality to social enterprises, waste collectors and producers, to design, to engage with the other producers and look at the volumes of their products, waste generated in Europe as a whole, available treatment technology, its cost, and the necessary capacities for treatment in the entire region. This requires bravery and transparency, both to accept and declare the volumes and to strategically select the locations for the sorting and treatment plants. As much as possible should be done close to source. So in my view, sufficient sorting capacity should be available in every member state. Treatment, however, always benefits from economies of scale. It's expensive treatment. So the processing and recycling steps to manufacture new textiles from the waste should be strategically placed across the EU countries. To get there, the producer within the EPR system must engage in a uniform manner with all European municipalities and social enterprises to access the waste textiles through effective separate collection. This calls for 27 national EPR systems with the same approach, same methodology, and same goal, including the modulated fees. Harmonization at EU level will create predictability in feedstock supply, stability for the investors, and will enable barriers such as intra-EU shipments to be overcome collectively. The separate collection of textiles already exists in most EU countries because we've been doing it for a year already. And when done correctly, it supports the most vulnerable communities through social enterprises. Today, the system is failing because of excessive waste generation resulting from fast fashion and poor quality. The poor quality doesn't magically appear in the waste phase. It comes from the product, and that has to be solved upstream. Coming back to EPR, the EU framework is late, but it's there, taken as guidance on how to interact with the collectors to access the feedstock to produce new textiles. European producers can take the lead, engage all the value chain, and implement EPR together with their 27 governments. There is no need, really, to wait for the legal deadlines. This is not an idealistic stance. It is a survival strategy and a business plan for success. Funding, subsidies, grants are a key to the success of this transformation. And as with every pitch, the business plan must be viable and attractive. So taking a slightly more business angle, because this is something that we don't often do in advocacy in Brussels, the textiles and waste management companies that survive this transition will not be the ones lobbying for exceptions. They will be the ones changing position inside the value chain and looking at the waste stream as a resource stream, and then looking at how they can access the resources to create their new business model. The moment the waste is transformed into secondary raw material, the business changes identity. So this is very important, not only for the textiles producers, but also for the waste management companies investing together with the producers to transform the textiles into those new resources. Looking at the market, textiles manufacturers, any manufacturers, don't pay premiums for recycling, and we can see that very, very clearly in the plastics field. Plastics manufacturers. Manufacturers pay premiums for predictable material streams that reduce their risk. This is why it makes sense for manufacturers to be investors in their new material supply chain. This is their risk management strategy. It is their way of getting strategic autonomy for their resources, and it builds a viable circular economy. Manufacturers across the globe are looking for regionalized supply, diversified sourcing, non-virgin inputs, because this is the direction we're going in, and reliable partners. So EPR done right delivers all of this. As I said, it is a system, a strategy, a tool which can be used well or badly. Waste does not become valuable because of regulations. It becomes valuable when someone takes responsibility for what it becomes. That is the choice every textiles producer and every waste management operator is facing right now. As Europeans, we have a responsibility to manage our waste, not shift it until it leaves our borders. The market doesn't want waste. It wants materials, clean, consistent, documented, and predictable. If that leads to better quality, lower volumes, social justice, and environmental improvements, so much the better. Thank you for your attention.
Thanks a lot, Yevanya. Very interesting. If I'm allowed to start the question and answer session, and I would like to ask all of you to put your questions in the chat or in the Q&A part here of this Teams tool. If I remember in the past how textiles were collected up to now, you could really see whether there was more value in the textile market or less value. You always had in Germany minimum some charities collecting the textiles, Malteser, Red Cross, and so on. Sometimes you could see municipalities collecting as well, and if the value was higher, you were able to find plastic bags in your letterbox asking you to put your textiles into them and to put the bags at a certain time of the day outside your home. So a very fragmented collection system, very unstable. As you as a consumer, you would never know is there who is there to collect your material. From your point of view, in the future, should we keep this approach? So also allowing probably several PROs funding several initiatives, or should we go to a more centralized approach where the PRO would also organize with the municipalities or with the charities, that there is always a reliable collection infrastructure available for the inhabitants. How would you see the way forward? So very volatile or stable? At the moment, I have to say, I do not really know what is the best way forward because one step would be an interference into the market, but the other one would leave the problem, I would guess, more to the inhabitants to look for the infrastructure. Do you have an idea where you or your sector would like to go?
Shall I start?
Nice. Yes, please. Yes, please.
Okay. I think it's not, at least for your research, it's not an idea of where the sector would like to go. And I mean, it's a question we hear quite often, but I think the most important point here is that there's no single correct model. We see already, for example, the variation in France, you only have one textile PRO that's been there for more than 10 years. In the Netherlands, you have 3 different textiles PROs so far, from my understanding. There is no like one perfect model, but it's more like the way the system will be governed. So a centralized nationwide system can work very well, especially from the point of view of municipalities, because it offers predictability, nationwide coverage, and easier planning for collection and treatment infrastructure. And also you can scale a lot and also invest in innovation, hire more people. However, centralization can also come with some risk. For example, if governance is weak, it can reduce transparency, it can slow down the innovation, and make it harder to link financing to performance. I mean, the collection of the EPR fees. Although a competitive PR model can work also, particularly where markets are more mature, they can create efficiency, they can encourage innovation, they can allow producers to choose the most effective compliance route. But then again, here competition only works if there is coordination. So without harmonized rules, a shared data system and balancing mechanism, competition can lead to cherry picking and fragmentation as well, which is exactly what municipalities and operators struggle with today. So I think what really matters here is, again, the clear roles, the ring-fenced EPR fees. So the contributions here must be used for defined services and circular outcomes. And then nationwide service obligations. So whatever the models, producers must collectively finance coverage across the whole territory, not only in profitable areas. So in practice, I think many countries may end up with hybrid solutions. But yeah, the key message would be here, the architecture here matters less than the governance itself, and the accountability and the performance. And then here again, on the model itself, I mean, on the governance, it's to make sure that they're producer driven and transparent for all the stakeholders involved, I would say.
Anja.
Thank you. I think that backing the harmonization of the system at European level, I would say that goes directly towards a centralized system. So one methodology, which is tried and tested for collecting, but I have to talk about the competitions. Competition should not be on how you collect. It should be on how many resources you are able to recover. So the collection system has to meet that goal. Using tried and tested systems from countries where they have already gone through the process of collecting on the street, the collected materials get wet when it rains. There are other non-textile products put into the bin as well, so you get dirty content. It's better to avoid making the same mistakes, use systems that already work, and have a model for cooperation between municipalities and social enterprises set within the EPR system. Not at national level only, at European level. So there is one system everyone can refer to. So the risks are limited. So the producer can understand how their resources are being collected and what they're paying for. And then the cost of collection simply becomes a cost of a raw material. If it's not going to come from secondary resources, their costs would include farming, processing the plants or the silk or whatever they are, or the plastics, whatever they're using as their virgin raw materials. So EPR needs to shift its focus and to look at the waste as a resource. You want your resource to be clean, processable, and accessible. And therefore, we're going towards something more harmonized and centralized. I won't answer your next question immediately now, but I could. It's partly the same thing.
No, my comment to Anais would be, and don't take me wrong, I have the same comment to the packaging sector as well. If you are not able to promote one system, don't expect harmonization. Huh? So that is something if you only try to cure the symptoms, you will never reach where you would like to be. But of course, it's a painful process to to discuss the governance model that is the most preferred for the majority of the people. But that was more a hint of an old wise man being more than 30 years in EPR. Yeah, one question came up which I had in mind as well, because it is not only a challenge for textiles, it's a challenge for each product under EPR, and we still do not have found the perfect solution. And of course, I'm aware that not every online platform is behaving in the same way. Yeah, so I take it because I have to say it because I was misunderstood in the past. So if we do not have someone seated in a country, even not have someone seated in the European Union, because we have a direct contract between someone outside the European Union and a private consumer. So the classical online sales with very successful platforms over the years, which somehow killed all our local dealers as well. And the local dealers, the retail shop, that was so nice for our authorities in the end. If they wanted to enforce, they were knowing the headquarter of former Kaufhof Galeria was in Cologne, so they could go there, they could check the books, and if they found something wrong, they could issue a fine. But our authorities from the city of Cologne or whoever is responsible, they are not able to go to Singapore, to the headquarter of one of the very big online sales, especially for textiles. They cannot imagine if the desk officer would ask the mayor, can I go to Singapore because I have to check this online sales company? Yeah, I can imagine the surprise. So how can we get this under control? Shall we deal with, in packaging in Germany, I think there are 1 million Chinese companies registered with a central agency, which was already seen as a major step forward. So now we have 1 million registrations, but that does not mean that they are in compliance. So this is just the first step. How will you be able to deal with this? And as far as I understand, in textiles, the amount of textiles coming from online sales is very significant. So if in the worst case, if this whole sector would be free riding, I think the system would break down from the very beginning. So how can we get them under control? Is there any discussion, Anais, amongst your Euratex membership and within the PROs you are working with?
No, not on the operation. I mean, on the fact that enforcement is needed, that there needs to be market surveillance, that we need to protect, of course, European companies from distant sellers. The enforcement itself and how it should be done is not discussed within Euratex. It's more a demand we have towards the European Union for them to enforce it.
Yeah, that's I think what we are hoping for in all the sectors since many years. But as far as I know, minimum for packaging up to now, France found a quite successful model because they are making the platforms responsible as long as they cannot prove that the suppliers are in compliance. So that is something which is working relatively well. And as a private person, I would promote this. But of course, this is very touchy. Nevertheless, it will be easier for PROs and for the government to work with 20 or 30 platforms instead of working with, I don't know, 100,000, 1 million companies outside the European Union. But that's for practical reasons. So I can only recommend also your members to start a discussion about this, because if 20-30% of the obliged companies are not contributing, but you have to pay for it, that might cause some distortions. Vanya,
Happy to,
any
happy to
comments
take
on
it
this?
bilaterally
Yeah,
with you.
Yes, of course, of course.
No, I agree. I mean, even as representing the municipalities, but looking at the flood of unmanageable textiles that is coming into Europe at very, very low cost from these online platforms with no responsibility. I also believe that the platforms should be made responsible to ensure that their sellers are part of the EPR schemes in Europe. But going one step further, if they are going to continue selling cheap synthetic textiles which are not recyclable because they are such poor quality into the European Union, then we should go that step further and block the sale because they become waste very quickly. And these are the products which are reducing the quality of the collected textiles and making them treat either because of the volume, so the volume increases the cost, increases the time it takes to sort, and it reduces their recyclability because there is no technology to do so.
That would have been my next question somehow. At the moment, we target with the collection infrastructure the textiles that you might even reuse. So that's, as far as I understand, this is the main target minimum of the charities, but also minimum in Germany of many municipalities. And textiles which are dirty, out of order, or bad are still asked to be put in the residual waste bin. In the future, shall we have two collection containers for textiles, one for good stuff and one for bad stuff? Or how will this look like as long as we have bad stuff on the market? And there will always be textiles out of order, probably. So how will we answer to the separate collection obligation?
Okay, but there are several questions or parts to the answer to your question. There is the possibility in the Waste Framework Directive for citizens to take their items that they deem clean, in good condition, and reusable, good quality, directly to charity shops or to second-hand shops, and to give them there or even sell them for sale for reuse. The quality of clean separate collection streams going directly to social enterprises or being collected on the street by social enterprises today is damaging or even causing bankruptcies of these social enterprises because of the volume of low quality textiles. It's not because they're dirty, it's because it takes much longer to sort out so more man hours to sort out the poor quality textiles. So the price that they can get for the much fewer reusable textiles does not pay the salaries and for the running of the social enterprise. This is why they're failing. So I don't think that we need different separate collection systems unless we ask the citizens, which is not possible, to sort out the synthetics from the natural fibers. Please don't tell me that synthetics are natural fibers because somebody tried to tell me that. But I do believe that, and even in the Waste Framework Directive, there is a differentiation between what a consumer would consider a soiled piece of clothing, so an overall that you've used to paint your house, so it's full of paint, you would not put that in the recycling bin, you would put that in the residual waste bin. Something covered in mud, you'd either wash it and put it in the recycling bin or you put it in the residual waste bin. But any clean textile should have one collection system. And then the EPR system at the national level, hopefully coordinated with all the other 27 member states, would coordinate between the municipalities and the social enterprises who collects in which area, not who collects what, but who collects in which area. Who collects what is is not possible to communicate to the consumer. The consumer must have a simple one-stop shop system for all their recyclable textiles. And what they consider reusable, then they take directly to the shop. Of course, after separate collection, there will be a sorting phase, and in that sorting phase, you will sort out reusable textiles, anything that still remains reusable. And that is why the Waste Framework Directive also includes the identification of anything sorted out for reuse as passing out of the waste phase. So anything sorted out as reuse can be considered as a non-waste and then resold. Otherwise, it can't be resold. So a bit of a long-winded answer, but I don't think we need differentiated systems. We just need clarity and communication to the citizen.
Yeah. You said reuse, and I saw a comment in the chat about Africa and so on. So reusable clothes, a part of it. We were so kind from the European countries to pass our old clothes to other continents of this world. I don't know whether this is a fake story or not. We hear about the mountains of textiles in the Chilean desert, and so on. I heard that the Ellen MacArthur Foundation made a study or developed a proposal for ultimate extended producer responsibility, so that export for reuse does not free you from your obligations. Any thoughts on this? Is it sustainable to send our clothes to other continents? Do we need more restrictions? How do you see this, or is it a good way to get rid of it? Huh?
Anais, please step in if you want to answer, but the simple answer to that is no. It's shifting the problem. It's putting up our hands and saying we don't want to pay the cost of transformation. We don't want to pay the cost of treating our own waste. We've bought it. It doesn't matter who bought it, but somebody in Europe bought it and it became waste. So we have to deal with it here. There are stories from Africa today where, and possibly they're learning not to buy our waste anymore, but people, simple citizens, save up €100 worth to buy one pallet of used clothing from the EU with the business plan to sort it and resell to double or triple their money. They end up today, so up until maybe 3-4 years ago, this was a very good business model and it was a good business to invest in for them. Today it is not. Today they lose their money because all of it has to go to the dump. And it's not a landfill, it's not an incinerator, it's a dump. Because the quality of the material is so low. So no, we should not send it outside of the European Union. I believe what I said previously, that we have to look at the quality which is left in the textiles and pursue a business model to recover the resources, which means investing in the European Union in sorting and in treatment technologies. All of this needs to fit within the EPR model. The EPR model must lead to this conclusion. Anything else we have to treat either in landfill or in incineration, whatever is not recyclable. And we have to stop the flow of low quality textiles into the European Union because it only increases the cost with no benefit. So Temu and Shane, there's a question on the chat. There must be methodologies for the blocking of the sale of textiles on Temu and Shane which are low quality. Who is to determine that is another question, but I would put a stop to the sale of synthetic textiles on those platforms and any other platforms that appear, because there are many also nationally.
Anais, any comments?
No, I think I align with Vanya on sending the waste to I mean, outside Europe. There was a system where it was working a few years ago, because again, it was mainly Europe sending garments that were still good quality to those countries, where there is a lack of, I mean, there is a lack of garments. Today, they're being bombed by all the garments coming from Asia and Europe as well. So it doesn't make any sense to send it there anymore, because it doesn't enhance circularity anymore. It's just shifting away the problem. This, I completely align with you, Vanya. And then I think, again, if we have, I mean, it's something also we advocate for at Euratex, for green public procurement, and then we can enhance recycling in Europe. We can enhance sorting in Europe. And I think by EPR will not be the solution itself. We need also other we need help from other sides as well. Green public procurement might help too. And we need to enhance recycling today and also in Europe, so we can manage the waste in Europe more efficiently. And on the question of banning certain products from certain companies, I think it's in the mind of many people, but the way it can be enforced or even discussed is a question mark.
Just to answer that last point, Anaïs, it is already in practice on many platforms, so online sales into Europe, which sell natural medicines. So there are certain natural medicines that Europe has decided it doesn't want its citizens to purchase, and they are blocked. You simply get a message, we cannot send this to your location.
But I think here the question of enforcement comes again into the question of enforcement and market surveillance, because I guess even if companies outside Europe were compliant with the European norms, I think the quality of the collected textile would already be better. But there is no market surveillance.
Yeah. We're not talking market surveillance on the companies. We're talking market surveillance on the platforms, which reduces the need for surveillance. Yeah.
I would like to close, because we are nearly at 1 o'clock already. I would like to close with a double question. So, sorry for it, because I think it's about the poor quality of certain materials that is coming to the market, which is on one side, I think, a problem because of us who are looking for cheap clothing, who are ready to buy something for one-time wearing. So the half part of the question is how can we enable our citizens to have a better equipped decision before they buy a certain clothes? How can we work with them to understand that to buy a shirt or a dress just for one time for €5 is not the way forward? And on the other side, in packaging, the Commission, or we all, came finally to the conclusion that we do not want non-recyclable packaging anymore. So they are now, until 2030, packaging has to fulfill certain guidelines, and the very worst one will be forbidden, and 5 years later, even the not as worse packaging will be forbidden if they don't move higher in the hierarchy. So in the end, quite drastic decisions. Would we need the same for textiles, to have recycling guidelines, reuse guidelines, whatever? And if a textile falls in the red part, it is just blocked, as Vanya said. So do we have to work more on the people, or do we have to work only on the material, or do we have to do both? So what is the best way forward, and where can industry be more active in this somehow?
So there is a question somebody asked me on the chat on how do I support my argument that we should block the cheap synthetic textiles coming into Europe, because without synthetics, the market or the producer cannot meet demand. Apparently, this was the result of a study presented at ISWA, Argentina. I think that you referred to it as well. There is too much demand. There is too much on offer. And often we hear from producers of not just textiles, but all products, that it's not their fault that the market is demanding. The market demands, the consumer demands the product, so they make the product. I'm sorry, but this is not the case. The producer makes the product, and then the consumer finds it and buys it, and then gets used to it and continues to purchase it. So we are at the peak or beyond the peak of consumerism. We will not be harmed by a smaller and a better quality product. We will be harmed by having floods of non-usable, non-reusable, non-recyclable products hitting the European market. The problem is getting worse, so we have to put a stop to it somewhere. So that is the question that I answered now, Joachim. I'm sorry, but
No,
actually,
but
just
it is somehow, huh?
to come back to your question, I think what I said previously as well, we need to look at the whole picture, look at it holistically. If we look only at part of it, we will never get a solution. So if the producer is not engaged in the problem we have today, they won't be engaged in the solution. And they will end up paying the cost of their non-reactivity. So in order to be a flourishing, strong textile producer tomorrow, today, and we're talking about Europe, so I'll talk about Europe, a textile producer or seller selling clothing and other textiles in Europe needs to recognize that they are responsible for what happens after they sell. That hits their bottom line. So their new resources, instead of being a risk, should be invested in recovering materials from the waste stream. If that waste stream today is poor quality, they have to look at what they're putting on the market to be able to transform their own business model. And it's possible. I don't believe it's not possible. It's happening in other sectors, even in plastic packaging today. There is a positive future for them.
Anais, the last words for you.
Yeah, I think I agree on all of the points of Vanya. I would just add on this that there is already discussion of ultra fast fashion. And I think if it enters into force, I mean, this is being discussed and almost implemented in France, from my knowledge. As Vanya mentioned, in the end, it will be even more costly for the consumers because there will be a premium. So it could reinforce itself at the end if there's more regulations on ultra fast fashion. So this could be one of the part of the solution as well, not the only solution. And I think education is key as well. Many consumers are not even aware that there are garment bins on the streets. So it's also about educating the consumer more and more. And this is everyone's responsibility, but the brands too.
Thanks a lot, sir. I think we have to close now, and to close with an anecdote somehow. In the beginning of the 2002 and 2004, we, the EPR systems, we organized youth parliaments. So we brought together many young people from all over the European countries, and they developed some demands to politicians, to us, and it was very interesting. The key demand of all of them was to have a lesson in school about environmental and sustainable behavior. This was 25 years ago. And somehow I think we are still in need of this, because only consumers that know what they do and know what will happen if they do wrong and what are their choices, I think they can increase the pressure on companies as well. So I think something we have to rethink, and I found it very interesting that pupils demand another lesson in school. I think that was really fascinating. Thanks a lot to the two of you for this interesting talk. Not easy questions for all of us. Unfortunately, no magic solutions, but I think we have triggered a discussion, hopefully also with our audience. Please continue to discuss it in your countries, in your sectors, and so on, because we have to find a solution, not to sit in the end in a mountain of waste, whether it is textile, packaging, batteries, and so on. The next webinar of this series will be in the beginning of May. It will be about the Circular Economy Act, probably. So have a look on LinkedIn, and then hopefully to see you again. Thanks a lot for listening. Again, thanks a lot to the two of you. Vanya and Anais, great contribution. See you soon. Hopefully. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Bye, nice.
Bye. Thank you.